Cool.
I'm Dr. Rachel Griffiths, and I'm with my father and partner in aquatics.
Dr. Tom Griffiths.
Welcome to the Drowning Files, where each week we share a lawsuit we've been involved with or another true story with suggestions to learn from these tragedies to help save lives. What case do you have today?
Similar to a case that I have pending now, which I can't discuss in detail, but it's very similar to this one. And this, I think listeners will find a little bit different and a little bit unusual. So, recently in the United States, people were swimming in a hotel pool in the United States, as I said, and this woman contracted a serious bacterial infection known as MRSA, MRSA. Now, please don't ask me what that stands for, but it stands for a serious bacterial infection, which is highly antibiotic resistant. In other words, it's very difficult to treat with medicines, antibiotics. And the infection usually attacks the skin or the soft tissues of the body. So, in this particular case, a woman was staying at a hotel and was swimming in the pool, and she got this infection, and some of the other people in the pool at the same time got violently ill. And because she was not the only one in the pool, they figured it must be the water. The woman later went to the doctors. She had 3 surgery on her legs. Her legs were very infected by this. She may lose her legs through amputation in the future. But when they analyzed the pool, what they found was zero chlorine in the water. Now, if you don't have chlorine in the water, it can become a breeding ground for mold and algae and bacteria and viruses. And chlorine is a great chemical because it disinfects the water. It makes that water clean from bacteria and so forth. And so swimming pool water is very safe if it's properly chlorinated, but it can grow to be not safe if you don't have any chlorine in the water. Making matters worse was the pH was high, and without giving a full chemistry level, a recipe for disaster is when your water balance has very low chlorine and high pH, because there's very little, if any, disinfection and oxidation going on for whatever's in the pool. So this pool, because it had zero chlorine in the water, should have been closed to the public. All of the pools in the United States are regulated by local health departments, and every local health department says that you need a certain amount of chlorine in the water. And that can vary. It can vary from zero point 0.4 parts per million, which is very little, to a minimum of 1 or 1.5, all the way up to 4 or 5 parts per million. But the fact that this pool had no chlorine in it really was the smoking gun in this case. And what will happen now if they sue the
Well,
hotel,
I have a
then,
couple questions.
oh, yes, Rachel, I'm sorry.
If they have no chlorine in there, it's not necessarily that they put none in, right? It could just be from um, the chemical balance being off.
Yeah, but yes, they
Or
could
most
put it in
likely
there.
they were just putting no chlorine in it.
Well, that's a really good question. They could be putting it in, but because we call it the bather load, I hate that term, but because the bather load is so high, the people's sweat and urine and body oil could eat up all the chlorine. For instance, if you know a birthday party is coming to a swimming pool, what a good pool operator will do will turn up the chlorine before the pool party gets there with 30 kids, because he or she knows that once they hit the water, the chlorine is going to reduce drastically. So, to answer your question, both of your questions are correct. Perhaps they didn't put it in because there was no chlorine in the chlorine feeder, the chlorinator, or they put it in, the levels were so low that the people in the water actually used up the chlorine. Does that make sense to you?
And yeah, and a swimmer, would they have any way to know that there wasn't chlorine, or you just have to rely on the
Another
people
great
running the
question.
pool to
Wha-
test it?
Yeah, another great question. When you get to zero chlorine, because chlorine does two things: it disinfects, kills the germs and bacteria, but also it oxidizes. Oxidizes meaning it burns up the particulate matter. Okay, with zero chlorine means that all the pieces of skin and hair and lint and all of that stuff begins to build up, and the water will become cloudy over time. So immediately when you have zero chlorine in, the water may be clear, but shortly thereafter, if it remains with no chlorine, then the water will turn cloudy. But yeah, it's a very subtle thing that people probably would not notice.
Okay, and I think you were gonna go on to talk about what will likely happen with the lawsuit.
Yes, so in a case like this, and I've seen many of them come from hot water spas because the hot water dissipates the chlorine, like you suggested earlier. It just hot water and bubbles and agitation knocks the chlorine out. So many of these diseases, Legionnaire's disease, MRSA, and so forth, come from hot water spas. So this is a little different, but it doesn't matter if it's a pool or a spa. The injured party in the family enters a lawsuit against the hotel or the guilty party. And then what they will see, their defense is, well, you can't prove that your disease came from our pool. And sometimes that is very difficult to detect. So, you have to present the circumstances: no chlorine, bacteria in the water, their bacteriological analysis was bad, um, and to maintain that evidence, enter that evidence into the case, and then compare that to the young woman who, as soon as she got out of the water or while she was still in the water, she was getting sick along with others. So the defense was, it ain't us. She got it somewhere else. She picked it up in a restaurant or something like that. But that wouldn't stand up with MRSA. And along those lines, and I can't talk too much about it, I am working currently on another similar case where I'll just say that the injured party felt that he injured body parts on the surface of the pool, and as a result got infections, and as a result lost body parts. So I do have that case, but I can't speak about it because it's ongoing. But this is a very interesting case, and it just goes back to pool operations. You and I have been talking about lifeguarding and parents watching their kids, and this is where you have to have a certified and qualified pool operator who knows what the heck they're doing. And a hotel pool open to their guests should never have zero chlorine in it. You'd really rather have high chlorine that's over the limit than low chlorine, because high chlorine isn't going to hurt you. It may bleach your hair, it may bleach your suit, but it's not going to make you sick.